All right, as the cars grid up, here we go. Up front will be Matt Stewart and Blake Mosley on the front row. Mason Neal, Michael Whiting have the second row. Eddie Baker, Brian Mansfield on the third row. The fourth row will be Corey Burke and Brian Burkhart, Brandon McLaughlin, Superman, Norman Chan rounding out the top 10. Spencer Brown in 11th and Kevin Coleman starting in 12th. And just on a personal note, really quick, thank you everybody from all the leagues that have reached out. I'm making a point of trying to thank everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who's reached out, and for me and my family, really appreciate it. Thank you all so much, and I will be posting a picture of the car that Gerald Poole ran last night. I'll get that posted later tonight, but huge shout out to him for that. Everybody taken to the grid here. Looks like we're just waiting on Eddie Baker. He wants to make a dramatic entrance here tonight. All right, everybody on the grid. The pace car is rolling. Camera did not switch appropriately. Hey, thanks, Bryce, man. I appreciate it, buddy. As the pace car comes around, we are getting ready. Pace car is in. Here they come down the front straightaway. Barney the flag man drops the green flag. They are down and away from Chicagoland. Off into turn number 1. Matt Stewart pulls to the lead immediately. And I'm willing to bet Patty Stewart's out there cheering him on right now as they come down the long curved back straightaway. Remember, Chicagoland, a little bit different than most of the mile and a halves, has that curve. The whole back straightaway isn't actually straight. Side by side, Blake Mosley going for it. Blake down to the bottom. We'll see a lot of guys hop down to that apron. It helps them have a little speed, but it does wear the tires as there is a dramatic difference in the banking. The front straightaway banked at 11 degrees, but that apron flat and jumping up and down from there really impacts the tire wear. Blake Mosley now to the lead. He is going to lead lap number 2. Matt Stewart, still holding second. Mason Neal third, Eddie Baker fourth, Michael Whiting fifth, Brian Burkhart already up a couple of spots. Starting in 8th up to 6th. Blake Mosley just had the fastest lap though. And Kevin Coleman Kevin Coleman up 3 spots from 12th to 9th already. Mosley, though, out front. Matt Stewart still all over the back bumper. Mason Neal still right there with them. Drew Warren not in the race. He came in with drop races calculated. With drop races calculated, he was in the points lead coming into tonight. Off turn 2, down the back straightaway. Single file through most of the field for the moment. A long way to go. These guys really have to be careful. 3 sets of tires here tonight. So they have got to make sure they stretch that tire wear as long as possible. Eddie Baker just turned the fastest lap of the race so far, back and forth. Blake Mosley still hopping to the bottom. Blake Mosley, oh, Matt Stewart way up by the wall. We saw a lot of cars loose in practice. Wondering if we'll start to see some loose handling race cars as tire wear becomes an issue. Matt Stewart comes off the turn and is right on the back bumper of Blake Mosley. It has been these two up front this whole time, and even when they're battling, they seem to be pulling away just a little bit from the cars behind. Time will tell. A lot of laps to go. Blake still able to hold on to the lead. Matt not fighting too hard. Gonna let Blake wear his tires out. Mason still in third, Eddie Baker fourth, Michael Whiting fifth, Burkhart now in sixth. Corey Burke holding on to seventh, but Kevin Coleman up 4 spots now. He is up into eighth. Keep waiting for Kevin Coleman to make a right-hand turn and bring me my combos. He hasn't done it yet. We've been talking about this all season long, and I have not gotten my combos. I'm a little annoyed. Spencer Brown had an issue a moment ago. See what happened? Could it have just been him cut? No, he got loose. Off turn 4, hard into the outside wall. Goes down through the infield. Manages to get the car recovered. No caution. Heavy damage to that car, and he is already almost in the clutches of the leaders. There is Spencer Brown right now, 10 seconds. I'm sorry, 14 seconds behind Blake Mosley on a 31-second lap. The leaders will catch back up to him very quickly, especially considering it looked like Spencer took significant right side damage. Oh, he is loose again. That car is in a lot of trouble. He'll have to get it to pit road for repairs before long. Blake Mosley still in the lead. Little bit of gap on second place, Matt Stewart now. We have seen Matt really have that long run speed here recently. And Matt obviously not going to the apron here. Here comes Mason Neal looking for second. Some of these guys using that apron, that will take a toll on the tires later in the run, especially with the limited tire sets. Will make things interesting. Eddie Baker now looking for a pass on Mason. Can't find a way around yet. Blake Mosley has opened up a half-second lead on Matt Stewart. Matt Stewart heavily under attack as they continue to run here. He's had Mason Neal try and make a move. Eddie Baker is right there, keeps trying to find a way around as well. Michael Whiting in 5th, and Burkhardt in 6th, starting to close down just a little bit on this group. Spencer Brown really starting to lose some time now, 21 seconds behind the leader. There is Spencer, and he will be lap traffic before long if they don't get a caution. As always, if you have a favorite driver in the field, make sure you comment. Let them know you're cheering for him. And Jason Rome, as always, in the house cheering on the Topher. How you doing, Jason? I have gotten into the habit now of actually watching for Jason's Go Topher comment every single night. Mostly single file at the moment, but once it gets racy here later in the runs and on fresh tires, it seems like at this track you have a lot of times where mid-run everybody kind of settles into a rhythm, but late in the run the cars that have been saving, they come to life and charge through, and on fresh tires those guys that got passed by the long run guys come flying back by. Does make for some great racing here later in the run and early into after green flag tires. Jason saying every race has a Topher. Yeah, you're probably right. Although none are as awesome as our Topher. Matt Stewart has started closing back down just a little bit on Blake Mosley. Was almost 0.6 of a second behind, now down to about 0.3 of a second. Brandon McLaughlin trying to get past Brian Mansfield here. He will complete the pass. That moves McLaughlin back into 9th. Mansfield has drifted back quite a bit. Started up in 6th, has drifted back now to 10th place. Hopefully he'll be able to make his way forward again. Getting word, points leader Drew Warren had to park the car, not feeling well, but he is cheering on Mason Neal, who is currently in 3rd place. Hope you get to feeling better, Drew. Oh, Mason gets a little bit close to the wall there. Eddie Baker currently in 4th. 5th place is Michael Whiting. Brian Burkhardt in 6th. Coleman in 7th. Corey Burke currently running in 8th. Trying to hold Brandon McLaughlin off. McLaughlin looks like he is one of the drivers that saved his tires early. That car is starting to come alive. Corey Burke doing everything he can to keep him back there, though. Kevin Coleman has definitely come to life in that combos car. Current started in 12th all the way up to 7th now. And the leader should be coming up on Blake Mosley any time. Or I'm sorry, the leader should be cut. They have already came past, excuse me. Spencer Brown has already lost a lap after the damage off of turn 4 and going through the infield. And he is losing a bunch of time. Blake Mosley's lead, holding at about 0.4 of a second over Matt Stewart. Eddie Baker is really working the back bumper on Mason Neal. He has tried getting by just about every single way. Gets a run built, but can't get the job completed yet. Although if you're Mason Neal, you're probably a little bit worried about how Eddie Baker is finding ways to keep finding speed. Coleman now is still in 7th place after starting in 12th. 0.9 of a second behind Brian Burkhart in 6th place. And gaining a little bit of ground last time by, but appears to be actually losing a little bit of time at the moment. We'll have to see if Burkhart can pull away or can Coleman run him back down. Mosley's lead starting to grow, now 0.6 of a second over Matt Stewart. Mason Neal in 3rd, Eddie Baker in 4th. Most of the field really settling in for a long run here. Lap times already falling dramatically. Blake Mosley in the lead. His fastest lap was a 31.7. Last time by 33.3. So 1.5 seconds that they have lost after just 27 laps. Expect all these drivers in around lap 40 to get that first set of tires. Brendan McLaughlin still right there with Kevin Coleman. Coleman had pulled away just a little bit. We talked about McLaughlin started to come alive about 5-10 laps ago. These long runs seem to be suiting him here at Chicagoland. He has now made his way up to 8th. Hey, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you, buddy. Brendan McLaughlin really working the back bumper on Kevin Coleman now. But Blake Mosley's lead has now hit the 1 second part. 1 second gap on Matt Stewart. Mason Neal back in 3rd. Michael Whiting in 4th. Now has Burkhart looking to the inside. Burkhart, another one that has really started to come alive on these long runs the last few weeks. He has already gotten past Eddie Baker for 5th and now looking at Michael Whiting for 4th. A little wiggle, though, out of Burkhart. A lot of guys getting really loose. New setups and adjustments to the cars after the patches last night or yesterday. Definitely seeing some different handling. All the drivers having to adjust. Mosley, though, has led almost every single lap so far. Matt Stewart led lap number 1. On lap 2, Mosley took to the lead and had managed to stay out front, but has really started to open up a gap now, 1.3 seconds. Mason Neal in third has faded back just a little bit off Matt. Now a 1 second gap from second to third. Michael Whiting also a second back in fourth, but Burkhart all over the back bumper of Michael Whiting. Burkhart looks to the low side through 1 and 2. Had a lot of momentum off the front straightaway. Burkhart still can't get the job done, though, on Michael Whiting. Blake Mosley's lead now 1.6 seconds over Matt Stewart. Mason Neal in third. Now Mason is now falling back 1.8 seconds behind Matt Stewart. And Michael Whiting is actually starting to close in on Mason. Brian Burkhart in fifth. Eddie Baker in sixth. Coleman in seventh. Mansfield eighth. This battle right here, this is 7th through about 10th place. Everybody pretty much staying single file, but things are definitely about to get interesting. Coleman still leading this group, but now just ahead, Michael Whiting up to Mason Neal. Brian Burkhart has come with him. Eddie Baker has closed back down on him. And they'll be within the window for their first stop in the next 5 to 10 laps. Could that start to play? Green flag pit stops will obviously play a factor here. Anybody makes a mistake on pit road could be in trouble. This race liable to stay green flag the whole time. And we have been seeing, in recent broadcasts, we've seen a lot more races that stayed green flag the entire time as Mason Neal in third. Now that things are really starting to heat up. Kevin Martin just cheering on everybody. Come on, Kevin. Who you really rooting for out there, bud? Eddie Baker gets back around Brian Burkhart for the moment, and look at this. Michael Whiting gets a nose underneath Mason Neal, drifted up, almost getting into the left rear corner, backs out of it, and manages to keep everybody going the right way. All right, so Kevin Martin is in fact cheering on his boo, Matt Stewart. And John Wright out here cheering on Mason Neal. Mason currently in third, Matt Stewart in second. I don't know how much longer Mason's going to have third, though. Michael Whiting down to the bottom. Oh, Eddie Baker scrapes the wall. I think Eddie just went up and gave it the wall a little bit of a kiss there. Ryan McDaniel, everybody's cheering on the city Chevrolet truck. Hey, thanks, Jason. Appreciate you, buddy. Corey Burke is the... Oh, no! Corey's had trouble getting onto pit road. I don't think he meant to get to pit road just then. Let's see what happened to Burke. Off of turn 4. Yeah, he was aiming for pit road. Just overshot. So easy to do at Chicagoland. Ends up slamming into the inside wall. And a tough break for Corey Burke as he was starting to make his way forward. Green flag pit stops could definitely get interesting. Jason, that is awesome, buddy. So 2 cars no longer on the lead lap, Spencer Brown and Corey Burke, but we still have 10 cars on the lead lap, all battling for different points positions here tonight as well. Matt Stewart comes from second, goes to pit road. Brian Burkhart, Mason Neal, Kevin Coleman, all on pit road. They came down in that big group. Burkhart's got, we'll have to watch and see if he gets a penalty because it looked like he just shot ahead there for a moment. 4 cars on pit road. Expect the front 5 to come in very, very quickly. Blake Mosley giving up the lead. He is coming to pit road. Oh, Mosley struggles. Here comes Michael Whiting. Drifts it in. Michael Whiting loses the back end right in front of Eddie Baker. Eddie gets by clear. Brendan McLaughlin stays out. Might have been the smartest choice. Brian Mansfield is around. We did say green flag stops could be the deciding factor here tonight. Here comes Mansfield down to pit road. Just gets on the brake. No! Oh, Michael Whiting backed up, and there was just enough room there. I think there was a touch, more than a touch of netcode in that deal. Brandon McLaughlin stays out. He is running. He is in the lead right now. Mosley coming off pit road now, currently scored in second. Expect him to get up around McLaughlin very, very quickly. Last time by, McLaughlin just shy of 34 seconds on those old tires. Everybody came to pit road on lap 45 or 46 except Brandon McLaughlin. And in fact, as of the moment, Blake Mosley, the only other driver being scored on the lead lap. Until Brandon McLaughlin comes out or goes to pit road, everybody's going to be scored a lap down. McLaughlin, though, is losing a lot of time on those old tires. And look at this. Mason Neal just set the fastest lap of the race. Brandon McLaughlin comes to pit road. Blake Mosley will reassume the lead with a 3.4 second lead. Mason Neal in second, though, running some of the fastest laps of the race. He has set the fastest lap of the race 2 laps in a row now. That gap of 3.4 seconds is now starting to close as Superman Norman Chan up top. Mason just flies by. John Wright, exactly right. He cannot burn the tires up. This may come down to a long run situation and who can stretch those tires the most. But Blake Mosley, 3.3 seconds at the moment over Mason Neal. Matt Stewart now in third. Eddie Baker to fourth. Brian Burkhart currently running in fifth. Brandon McLaughlin has made his way back up into sixth. Bit of a surprise after seeing him stay out as long as he did on old tires. Mansfield after the incident on pit road currently in 7th. Michael Whiting after his incident in 8th. Superman in 9th and Kevin Coleman back to 10th. Spencer Brown in 11th. Corey Burke appears to have called it a day. He is out. John Wright, if you know about burning up the tires, why aren't you out here showing these boys how it's done? I mean, obviously Blake Mosley's got something figured out here, but imagine a few of these guys could use a little education. All right, Kevin Martin has laid down the gauntlet. Rex Spencer Brown. I'm sorry, let me make sure I say this correctly. Whoever wrecks Spencer, I wrecked Kevin in Atlanta, Brown gets $5. And don't worry, Kevin, that was a big discussion with some of the drivers, and I even worked it into the pre-race interview. Mason Neal currently in second. He is starting to lose a little bit of ground again on Mosley. Mosley 3.43 seconds ahead. Matt Stewart currently in third, staying right on Mason Neal's back bumper. Eddie Baker now in fourth. He's got Spencer Brown right there on the high side. Spencer did have that incident earlier in the race off turn 4. Obviously, the car has been repaired, but wait a minute. Spencer Brown now coming to pit road. He has not been to pit road yet. This will be his first pit stop, and he is going to get the repairs now. Kevin, you're probably right. So Spencer Brown comes to pit road later than everybody else. Could he do that? No, he cannot make it from here. At least, no, this would not be a halfway attempt to stretch the entire race on one stop to try and pick up some positions. I'm not sure why he didn't come down sooner. We'll have to wait and see if he has something up his sleeve. Blake Mosley out front by over 4 seconds over Mason Neal and Matt Stewart, who are now battling for second. Eddie Baker back in fourth place, trying to run them down, but he is 2.9 seconds back from the battle for second. Burkhart in fifth right now, 2.4 seconds back from Eddie Baker and gaining on him. Brandon McLaughlin now up to 6. Brandon was the last lead lap car to hit pit road and made that work really, really well. Mason Neal and Matt Stewart still going at it. Let's take a quick look at the battle just a moment ago. There's Matt looking to the bottom. We've seen Matt kind of toy with Mason once or twice a run. Matt got loose off 4. Looked like he had a bit of a run, just couldn't capitalize, and then he got loose, and that became a big problem. Great save, though, by Matt Stewart. We saw it during the first run. I think Matt Stewart is trying to force Mason to make a mistake or burn up his tires. Just hasn't been able to get that done yet. Now Mason in second, Matt in third. Eddie Baker in fourth, 3 seconds back. Burkhart has closed the gap down to Eddie Baker, now down to 2 seconds. Brendan McLaughlin back in 6th. 7.3 seconds back. Brian Mansfield currently running in 7th. Michael Whiting in 8th, and you saw Spencer Brown there back out on track. Kevin Coleman currently running in 9th, has not delivered my combos yet. And that might be the most important fact about Kevin Coleman. He's been driving the combos car for weeks. I still have not had any delivered. And Superman Norman Chan in 10th. Mosley is really just dominating here. His lead now over 5 seconds. Mason Neal is still having to battle with Matt Stewart. Matt had dropped back just a hair, has now run right back to the back bumper. Everybody else, we saw a couple of packs of cars prior to the pit stops, but once they went to pit road, there was a bit of chaos. And once that chaos hit, the back half of the field really kind of spread out. Where they had been running nose to tail, now they were seconds apart. Michael Whiting back in 8th and not far from being lapped by the leader. Michael Whiting currently 24 seconds behind the leader on a 32-second lap. Blake Mosley definitely has to have him within sight. Let's see if we can hop in his in-car camera. Do a lap as Superman was in the wall out of 4. Blake down to the apron, back up onto the track as he sets up for entry into turn 1. Out of the throttle. Remember, these cars do not have the same amount of downforce as a Cup car, making it a little bit trickier to drive here. Doesn't look like you can see Michael Whiting quite yet, but it won't be long now. Down through 3 and 4, down to the bottom. And obviously the car really getting loose off of turn 4. We've seen all the drivers have to fight that handling issue all night. Mason Neal in second, Matt Stewart in third, still the closest battle on track right now. Eddie Baker 3.7 seconds back, and Brian Burkhart in 5th has lost a little bit of ground to Eddie now 3 seconds behind him. Brandon McLaughlin currently in 6th, 4.4 seconds back. Brian Mansfield in 7th, 5.4 seconds back. Michael Whiting another 1.5 seconds back, but Michael Whiting is gaining rapidly on Brian Mansfield. Kevin Coleman way behind, 26.8 seconds behind Michael Whiting. Hey, good evening, Jeremy. How you doing, buddy? Just past halfway at Chicagoland, Blake Mosley has led all but one lap here tonight. The only other leader tonight was the third place driver, Matt Stewart. After calculating, Superman Norman Chant has been a little off pace tonight. Let's see, does he have some damage to the right side? I'm not seeing any. Norm just not up to the speed we're used to seeing him. He's currently about 2 seconds off pace. 2 seconds a lap. Oh man, yeah, I've had to hide that tumbler more than once from one of my kids taking it. It is awesome. Worth noting coming into tonight, Matt Stewart, Brandon McLaughlin were tied for 6th in points. Matt running in 3rd, Brandon running in 6th. Brian Burkhart also came into tonight 2 points ahead of Matt Stewart. But as they run right now, Matt in 3rd, Burkhart back in 5th. One more race to go in the season next Wednesday night. Track is to be determined. That could make things interesting. I know Drew Warren is watching. Drew, do you have a hint for us? What track could we see next week? I promise if you tell me, I won't tell anybody that isn't watching the broadcast. Blake Mosley way out front. His lead now 7.7 seconds over Mason. Mason still has his hands full with Matt Stewart. Brian Mansfield currently in 7th. McLaughlin in 6th. Thought I saw another battle going. McLaughlin is closing in on Burkhart, just 1.3 seconds back. Mason Neal, Matt Stewart, still the best battle on track, but looks like a few of them as we get later into our second green flag run here. It looks like we are seeing some cars start to make their way forward and a few starting to fade. We could have some really great battles here in a lap or two. Like McLaughlin, who has almost caught Brian Burkhart. And Michael Whiting has been gaining slowly on Brian Mansfield. And of course, Spencer Brown just looking for a Kevin Durek. Since Martin's not out here, I guess he'll aim for Coleman at some point. Mason Neal has put a small gap on Matt Stewart. We saw him in the middle of the first run put about a half-second gap on Matt Stewart, but Matt suddenly started charging forward later in the run. Stewart back in third, maintaining that gap. Eddie Baker in fourth. Actually, Brian Burkhart is Brendan McLaughlin has caught Brian Burkhart, and they are both starting to gain on Eddie Baker. Eddie 1.6 seconds ahead. And McLaughlin dropping to the bottom, trying to get a run on Burkhart here. Oh, McLaughlin has huge problems. McLaughlin into the wall. Let's take another look at what happened to Brandon McLaughlin there. Here they come off turn 4, down the front straightaway. McLaughlin just drives it straight down to the bottom, but when he comes back up off the flat part onto that banking, loses the back end, has to catch the car, catches it all the way up the track, ends up in the wall. Looks like he got it back under control, but obviously some heavy right front damage. McLaughlin had been charging through the field and caught Brian Burkhart, but obviously he is starting to fade now, 2.6 seconds back and continuing to lose ground. Be interesting to see Brian Mansfield 5.7 seconds back. Can Mansfield run McLaughlin back down, and how far out can Burkhart get? Together, Burkhart and McLaughlin were actually gaining on Eddie Baker. And now it looks like Burkhart is continuing to gain just a little bit. Eddie Baker just 1 second ahead. Oh, Eddie Baker into the wall. Burkhart is going to catch him. Eddie Luke getting a little too high, got up into the loose stuff, and had to catch the car as well. It got into the wall. Burkhart is almost there. Oh, Eddie is way out of shape out of turn 4. Eddie Baker's car really going away now. They are all within the window of pit stops. I had to double check my math. Everybody is within the window. Superman, Norman Chan has had an issue. Well, Eddie Baker is going to pit road. No, he missed pit road. Superman is on pit road now. Watch what happens here. Eddie Baker up on the high side. Burkhart on the bottom. Into 3 and 4. A bit of a... Oh, he was way out of shape. What a save, though, by Eddie Baker. He lost the position and lost a ton of momentum, but keeping that car in one piece, not going around, that was an impressive drive. Kevin Martin saying if Brian Burkhart wins this race, he'll chug a bottle of wine in celebration. And Patty is always cheering on Matt. Matt currently running in third. Superman has been to pit road. Let's try and take another look at what happened to Superman, Norman Chan. Let's back it up a little bit. He was already in trouble at that point. He'd been off pace up by the wall, but doesn't touch at that time. Gets off into the turn, car gets loose. He just drives it down to the apron, keeps some momentum on it, but man, the back end snaps around. He took out the cone. A lot of debris down on the apron. You get too low trying to save the car, it can make matters worse. That is what happened there. Ty Dahlman, yep. Blake Mosley has had a dominant run. His lead now 10 seconds over Mason Neal. Matt Stewart 2 seconds back behind Mason in third. Matt Stewart, the only other driver to lead a lap tonight. Burkhart, due to Eddie Baker's issue, managed to get up into fourth. Eddie Baker now back in fifth, has not been back down to pit road, but I would expect to see him anytime. Kevin Coleman, a lap down, has caught up to him, as well as Spencer Brown, who's a couple of laps down. Eddie way up by the wall, manages to keep it off of it this time. Coleman a little bit loose off turn two. Matt Stewart is the first to come back to pit road. Might be the wisest one. He came down alone. Given the issues we saw on pit road last time, I bet everybody is a bit more cautious this time around. Mason Neal stays out. Brian Burkhart is still out. Eddie Baker, Brandon McLaughlin. So everybody but Matt Stewart has pit. No, Mason Neal is on pit road. Mason being a lot more careful this time. He was one of the drivers that had issues the first time, but managed to keep the car going the right way. Burkhart now to second. Blake Mosley bypasses pit road. Brian Mansfield is in. He got into the inside wall last time. He is being a lot more cautious on this stop. Mosley had a huge lead prior to green flag stops beginning. 10 seconds ahead. How long he could stay out, run the fuel, let these guys gain a little time on him, and then have the freshest tires at the end and still have that big gap. Blake Mosley, Brian Burkhart, Eddie Baker, Brandon McLaughlin, and Michael Whiting, the only 5 cars left on the lead lap right now as pit stops are underway. Now Brian Burkhart, Eddie Baker, and Michael Whiting all on pit road. They all get down safely. Blake Mosley and Brendan McLaughlin have not pitted. McLaughlin last time stayed out longer than everybody and really made that strategy work, get himself some track position. Will we see him try the same thing? Kevin Coleman hit pit road. Here the leader is on pit road. Blake Mosley is down. McLaughlin, the only driver left that has not been to pit road the final time. Does he try and stretch the mileage again? Everybody cycling around, drivers coming back up off pit road. We'll be able to do a rundown, see where everybody's at in a moment, but McLaughlin is going to end up putting most of the field one lap down as he just took the lead. So we've had 3 leaders tonight. Blake Mosley, Matt Stewart, and now Brandon McLaughlin have all led. McLaughlin still out there. McLaughlin pitted on lap 49, about 3 laps after everybody else. Now everybody else pitting between 88 and 93. McLaughlin still staying out. Blake Mosley currently being scored in second place, 4.3 seconds back and gaining rapidly. And about to put Michael Whiting a lap down. Michael Whiting currently running in 5th. Brandon McLaughlin still leads at lap 97. Mosley, though, has closed that gap down dramatically. Mason Neal has gained a few seconds on pit road, and since the pit stop, the gap now only 7.7 seconds to Blake Mosley, but he is really going to have to crank it up to get back up and battle Blake in the last 30-plus laps. And Matt Stewart, again, right there with Mason Neal, under a second behind him. Burkhart currently being scored in 5th. He is almost 18 seconds behind Matt Stewart. Spencer Brown has had an issue. Blake Mosley, before we go to Spencer Brown, Blake Mosley has just come past Brandon McLaughlin for the lead. McLaughlin still has not made his final stop. McLaughlin is going to lose a lot of ground here. All right, let's see what happened to Spencer Brown. I didn't see if he was close to a Kevin or not. Oh, same thing we've been seeing off turn 4. The car just snapping loose. He manages to save it. Hey, good afternoon, Cortland. And look at that. He manages to save it and get it rolling again, but loses a ton of ground. Kevin Martin, I think he might have been looking. Brandon McLaughlin finally comes to pit road. I think Spencer Brown might have been looking for Kevin Martin. He wasn't on track. He had to go hunt. Blake Mosley still in the lead, 8.7 seconds over Mason. Matt Stewart now dropping back just a little bit in 3rd, 1.5 seconds back. Burkhart 18.4 seconds behind Matt Stewart. Michael Whiting in 5th, 5 seconds behind Burkhart. Blake Mosley actually running down. There's only 4 cars left on the lead lap, and Blake Mosley is running down 4th place Brian Burkhart as we speak. "28 laps to go." You know Blake Mosley, the one thing he does not want to see right now is a caution flag. Mason Neal back in second. Had gained a little bit of ground on pit road, but is now losing ground almost 10 seconds back in second place. A lot of cars have had issues here tonight. The biggest one, off turn 4, guys getting loose. I'm not sure, Cortland. It depends on the weather, and I think I have my daughter this weekend. Mosley has caught up to 4th place Brian Burkhart. Now, how hard does Brian Burkhart make it here? He knows he's the last car on the lead lap, and he wants to try it. Nope, he is not going to fight it at all. Mosley to the bottom. Mosley drifting up a little bit. Off turn 4, manages to hold it down. Burkhart led him to the inside, but he is definitely not making it easy for him to get by here. And now only 3 cars left on the lead lap. Blake Mosley, Mason Neal, and Matt Stewart. With 25 laps to go, I do not believe Mosley can catch up to Matt Stewart and lap the 3rd place car. But man, what a race. Yeah, I hear you, Cortland. I keep forgetting too, and I've got so much going on right now. I'll make a note of it though. Hopefully I'll remember. Blake Mosley is way out front. Mason Neal and Matt Stewart have started to separate just a little bit. Stewart in 3rd now, 2.3 seconds back. And would you look at this, Michael Whiting is actually closed back up on Brian Burkhart. Burkhart in 4th, Michael Whiting in 5th, and Michael Whiting is gaining on him. Brian Mansfield back in 6th, 4.4 seconds back. He gained a little bit on Burkhart and Whiting earlier in the run, but has started to lose ground. McLaughlin back in 7th. Eddie Baker in 8th. Eddie really struggling here. He got his repairs after his incident, but that car was way out of shape earlier, and he has drifted back into 8th place. Did see it last night in XCal competition that netcode was an issue, but more so the cars, the setups worked, but the cars were just not the same after the patch. Is what they didn't drive the same as they had the previous day during the heats. Starting to see a little bit of that here, that these XFinity cars obviously handling a little bit differently than expected coming into this one. Could the setup changes, tire changes, etc., and the trucks got a massive change this week, could that impact the Nowski Retro Truck Series race? Up next, we'll have to wait and see. Michael Whiting did get past Brian Burkhart. He is now up into 4th. Michael Whiting currently in lucky dog position, the first car, 1 lap down. Mason Neal, the gap now 12.7 seconds to the leader. And Mason is actually pulling away from Matt Stewart now. 4 seconds is that gap. Burkhart still within striking distance of Michael Whiting, less than a second, but Michael Whiting is pulling away. Mansfield in 6th has a 9-second gap over McLaughlin in 7th. Most of the field really having spread out here at this point. Unless something catastrophic happens, they'll finish exactly how they are running right now. Especially with Blake Mosley having lapped 9 of the 12 cars. Spencer Brown is back on pit road. Remember, he had the issue early in the race, took heavy right side damage. Looks like he is coming back down for another pit stop despite having made both of his green flag stops. He is out of tires. Not sure what's going on there. Might have been in for some repairs. He is on his way back off pit road. Currently running in 11th. And half a lap behind Superman Norman Chan. "15 laps to go for Blake Mosley. His lead now 14 seconds over second place. Mason Neal, Matt Stewart in third, Michael Whiting fourth, Brian Burkhart in fifth. A decent sized gap between almost every single driver at this point. Second to third place is 5.5 seconds. Third to fourth, 13.6 seconds. Michael Whiting has now pulled away from fifth place Brian Burkhart by 3.25 seconds, and Burkhart 4.5 seconds ahead of Mansfield. But it looks like Burkhart might be fading. Mansfield might be gaining on him just a little bit. The question is, does Mansfield have enough time to close a 3.5 second gap? McLaughlin back in 7th, 6.3 seconds back. Eddie Baker currently in 8th, another 28 seconds behind McLaughlin. Kevin Coleman in 9th, 37 seconds behind Eddie Baker. "12 laps to go for Blake Mosley. He is just cruising at this point, but Michael Whiting is actually caught up to the leader. Could we see Michael Whiting just unlap himself before they come to the checkered flag? Michael currently running in 4th. "10 to go for Blake Mosley. Mason Neal in second, now 15 seconds back. Matt Stewart currently in third. As they run, Mason Neal would pick up second in points. Actually, Mason Neal would return to the points lead. Matt Stewart would crack back into the top 5 in points as well. And Matt Stewart would also close the gap dramatically on Eddie Baker. Eddie Baker came into the night 4th in points, 16 points ahead of Matt Stewart. Oh, Eddie! Late in the run, these cars have been way out of shape. Mason in second has caught up to Kevin Coleman, who is a couple more laps down, but does give him a little drafting help. It won't be enough, though, for him to gain anything on Blake Mosley. Nowski Retro Trucks up next tonight, coming to you from New Hampshire. That promises to be a fun one. A flat track that is one of the best flat tracks, and I'm a guy who does not like driving the flat tracks, but man, that one is actually a lot of fun. Multiple grooves, and you know some guys are going to send it in too deep, get on the brakes too hard, slide up, and you never know what can happen when they do. Blake Mosley coming out of turn 4. He will get 5 laps to go. Pretty impressive to see Michael Whiting staying with Mosley here late in the run, even though he's not in a position to affect really the outcome of the race. Michael Whiting, obviously a lot of late run speed. He ran Blake Mosley down. You have to wonder, had Michael Whiting got a little bit better start to this race and not had the issue on pit road, would he have been up here challenging for the win? Three to go for Blake Mosley, who has dominated this race. The only 2 other drivers to have led a lap. Matt Stewart led lap number 1, and Brendan McLaughlin led a few laps during green flag pit stops. Nobody else has led a lap here tonight. Blake Mosley has pulled out to a 16-second lead, and look at this. Michael Whiting will finish the race back on the lead lap as he comes back around Blake Mosley. That might just be telling Mosley, if I hadn't had the incident on pit road, you'd be finishing second, buddy. Michael Whiting showing him how it's done. Blake Mosley, looks like they're going to have a little fun. They got 2 laps to go. They're going to play with it just a little bit. Mosley gets the white flag. Mosley fights back by Michael Whiting. They're going to have a little discussion. Who is faster? They know Mosley's going to win, but Michael Whiting's going to have a little fun with him here at the end. Out through turn 4, Blake Mosley staying in the draft. He is going to come down and win here at Chicagoland. Mason Neal will come down. He'll finish second. Matt Stewart, headed down the back straightaway, will finish third. Michael Whiting comes home fourth. Burkhardt in fifth. Brian Mansfield, Brandon McLaughlin, Eddie Baker, Kevin Coleman, and Spencer Brown round out the field. And let's see if we can get a word with our third place driver. Hey, Matt, this is Doug. You got me?
What's up, Doug? You woke me up.
I'm sorry. Yeah, kind of figured you might be sleeping out there. Otherwise, you'd been up there bumping on Mason's back bumper.
Yeah, I tried to hang with him, but he was just too fast. Blake was in another area code, though. I don't know what he had under the hood, but killed us.
I would go for post-race inspection, just saying.
I'm about to kill his car right now, so.
Oh, good. We're going to watch that. Yep, there you go. He had it coming. It did look like you had a lot of speed there, especially on the late run. Just didn't have enough early run speed to stay with him.
Yeah, just couldn't hang with him. He's an alien. I felt good coming into the race, but I don't know. I got to figure something out.
All right, man. Well, it's definitely an awesome points night. You, when the drop races are factored, you're actually, I believe, going to move up to fifth, at least in the top 5, probably 4th in points.
Sweet.
Great run tonight, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, Doug.
Looking to see if we can get a hold of Mason Neal. Hey, Mason, it's Doug. You got me?
10-4. How you doing?
Hey, man. What else did you need tonight to do anything with Blake Mosley?
The 58 car did not be in the race tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would have definitely helped, I'm sure. It was, you had a lot of late run speed like he did, but it looked like Matt could run you down later in the run, but the first half and, all through the middle of the run, you really kind of had quite a bit, just couldn't hang with Blake.
No. Nobody could hold a candle to Blake. Apparently he's got a good tire saving strategy or something like that, but obviously it's something the rest of us did tonight. But in the grand scheme of things, I guess I'm first loser to somebody that won by 15 seconds, so that's a plus. And really good points tonight for the guys that I'm battling for the championship. So,
yeah, I was looking at that, and I did some calculations. When you factor drop races, you do reclaim the points lead here tonight.
Oh, going into the last race. We don't know where we're running next week yet, but hey, that's a plus.
I tried to get, I wasn't going to share the secret, but I was obviously trying to get Drew Warren to comment and tell me where it would be. Obviously, if he had told me, I couldn't tell you, but, he wouldn't do it, so I don't know.
Brian didn't divulge that either, so.
We'll have to deal with them at a later date and time. But, man, congratulations. Another great race. Great finish.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks for the broadcast, buddy.
All right, let's see if we can talk to our winner. Hey, Blake, it's Doug. You got me?
I do.
Hey, I have heard there are calls for post-race inspection of your car, including me, because what was under the hood of that thing?
Well, it was the right foot at this track. Is mainly about not killing your tires, and I know when they would stop for pits for the first one, they were saying they were down in like the 40s on their percentage, and I was up at like 57 and like 20 degrees cooler on the tires. So it's all about turning the wheels as little as possible and driving it deep. These cars love to be driven in deep, and I've been running these a lot more lately. I used to hate the XFinity cars, but now they're probably one of my more favorite cars.
Well, you definitely know how to get the job done in one, and a dominant win. 16 seconds was the gap, and you lapped all but 3 cars.
Hey, I was going for that third one.
You You just needed a little bit more time. And actually, technically, you lapped all but 4 cars because Michael Whiting managed to get his way back around you. I have to ask, if he had not made that mistake on pit road early in the race, do you think you could have held him off? Because obviously there at the end, he was just as fast.
Well, I think he had a little bit newer tires, just a couple laps, which it makes a big difference in the long run. Early in the runs, it doesn't really make a big difference, but late in the runs, a lap or two, is almost half a second, and sometimes until they even out.
Actually,
yeah.
Actually, you pitted on lap 93. He pitted on lap 91.
No, okay, so he did save some tires there. Yeah, he probably would have had something.
Well, nobody had anything for you tonight, man. Congratulations. That was one heck of a win, man.
Yeah, man, thank you.
All right, we are done from Chicagoland. A really quick flight to New Hampshire. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the Nowski Retro Trucks from New Hampshire in just a few moments. Stick around. Maybe go to the snack bar. Maybe drop in the comments. Let us know who you're cheering for in the trucks. And maybe hit that share button. We'll be right back.